So, my friends, I'm in Greece at the moment, and I've been doing a seminar here on the path to love, the 8 limbs of yoga, and the awakened life. And I had the opportunity to being interviewed 2 days ago by Roger Cohen, a New York Times journalist, very well known. And it was a very interesting interview because he brought up issues and controversies about me from a long time ago, including my misuse of quantum mechanics and as mumbo jumbo, and and also the fact that I had once said that evolution is guided by consciousness. So let me explain why I still maintain those positions. Quantum mechanics is a mathematical recipe, Schrodinger's equation, which now suggests the following. Number one, every particle that exists or manifests before it does exists in superposition with all other particles. And the analogy here to the mind is that every thought exists in superposition with all other thoughts that you've had until it manifests or actualizes. Number two, in quantum field theory, particles appear as determined, and in quantum mechanics, particles appear as determined by the uncertainty principle, although there are probabilities and likelihoods of location in space and time. Similarly, our thoughts are determined by the uncertainty principle, and we can only predict the likelihood of thoughts based on habitual patterns of past thinking. So that's another analogy. The uncertainty principle applies to the mind as well as to quantum mechanics. If I ask you to predict your next thought, you can't. That's number two. Number three, every thought is capable of taking quantum leaps of creativity through discontinuity. And similarly, particles take leaps through discontinuity. Number four, the quantum field, many suggest, is self-organizing and self-regulating. So is consciousness, self-organizing and self-regulating. And finally, collapse of wave function occurs in observation, and the same thing happens when we decide to have an intention. So in quantum mechanics, whether you see a wave or a particle depends on how you make the observation, what you put your attention and intention on, whatever it is, a Higgs boson or another particle. Same thing. Our attention and intention actualizes out of the field of possibilities the next space-time event in consciousness. So this is why quantum consciousness is now becoming a legitimate field among some quantum physicists. Roger Cohen also criticized me for saying in the past, many years ago, almost 10 years ago, that consciousness could play a role in evolution. And this is why I still maintain that point of view. Epigenetics is the study how changes in gene expression can occur without changes in DNA sequence itself. These changes can be caused by a variety of environmental factors, including diet, exercise, stress, and exposure to toxins. Epigenetic changes can be passed down to offspring, meaning that they can play a role in evolution. There's a growing body of evidence that suggests that consciousness may play a role in epigenetics. For example, studies have shown that meditation and other mindfulness practices can lead to changes in gene expression. Additionally, studies have shown that people with different personality types have different epigenetic patterns. One way that consciousness could influence evolution is through the effect on epigenetics. Therefore, that's what I've been maintaining. There are some specific examples of how epigenetics and consciousness could be linked to biological evolution. So, to repeat, epigenetic changes can be passed down to offspring. This means that if a parent experiences an environmental factor that leads to epigenetic change, that change could be passed on to their children. This could lead to accumulation of epigenetic changes over generations, which could potentially drive evolutionary change. So these studies all suggest that consciousness plays a role in evolution. Consciousness can lead to changes in behavior. Epigenetic changes, therefore, are an example how experience shapes evolution. Overall, the evidence suggests that there is potential link between epigenetics, consciousness, and biological evolution. And as we continue looking at epigenetic modulation and gene expression and how that is passed on to future generations, I think there is a growing body of evidence that consciousness plays a role in evolution. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll pass this information on to our friend Roger Cohen as well. Thank you.